Hey everybody, Austin back again with another Let's Play video. Today it's going to be Stunt Race FX for the Super Nintendo. Now, this was a game I had played barely back in the 1990s. I did not play this game much at all. I never owned it up until I was collecting Super Nintendo cards again a few years back, and even then I didn't really play it. I saw friends play this game and it never really impressed me from, graphically speaking, which, I mean, it's a Super FX game. What can you ask for? You're not going to get high quality textures, but just something about the game never really resonated with me. Maybe it was the frame rate, maybe it was the goofy cars, maybe I have no freaking idea. But, I was really feeling like playing some Super FX chip games again. Just last week. And so in my last video you guys saw me do Dirt Trax FX, which in that video that was the very first time I ever played that game, and it was actually pretty solid. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool, and I do recommend it in terms of Super FX chip games. But on that note, I figured I'd revisit Stunt Race FX at the same time. Maybe try to run through one of the campaign modes, or just the circuit modes, or whatever they call it in this game, and just see if I like it now. I might not, but let's go ahead and hit start and just sort of get right into it. Speed tracks, stunt tracks, battle tracks, and free tracks. I think speed tracks are probably just your regular racing. Stunt tracks obviously has more to do with stunts, I'm guessing. Battle, I'm assuming, is maybe 2 players split screen. And then free tracks, I'm guessing, is like time trials or a free ride or something like that, practice mode. So we'll do speed tracks and just start with the yeah. So it looks like you got different characters. Strong, fast, medium, weak, slow. But he's got the highest top speed. I'm gonna go with medium. Probably this guy's the best one to play, assuming you can snake and things like that, like you could in F-Zero X. But let me go ahead and play with the coupe. 4-wheel drive coupe, F-type. That's it. No names or anything like that. You can input your name. So I'll go ahead and input my name. My initials. There we go. And let's get into this. Speed tracks. Okay. We'll go ahead. It doesn't look like there are a lot of courses. We might get to play both of these courses, so let's go ahead and just start with the novice one just so I can get used to it again. And it's got times on here. I'm not sure if this is battery save. If it's a Nintendo cartridge, it might have a battery on the inside, which I'm hoping it does. That would be awesome. That way I can try to best my times. So one thing I find interesting about this game is that, Super FX chip games typically have smaller screen sizes to compensate for the frame rate, because the frame rate, is usually kind of bad on these Super FX chip games. And what's kind of cool about this game, God, this is really laggy. This is like really laggy. That might have been something that I noticed back in the day, because the other Super FX chip games weren't laggy. They might have had lots of slowdown and whatnot, but the controls were still responsive. But this is really painfully laggy. Oh man. Ugh. This is gonna be a long video. But anyway, back on track. What I was saying is that, to compensate for the frame rate issues, they would make the screen sizes smaller on Super FX chip games. Even Star Fox doesn't take up the full screen. But what's kind of interesting about this is that they actually put a HUD around, the smaller screen size to fill up the rest of your TV, which was pretty cool. Because the other Super FX chip games did not do that. Doom didn't do it. Dirt Trax didn't do it. I don't think Vortex did it. All those games ran at lower screen sizes, and they just had these really big black borders around the screen. So, but this game does not do that, and I think that's pretty cool. But the controls are just so laggy in this game. Oh man. And this is not my video setup. Like with how I've got the setup, I've got a new video setup in terms of how I'm doing these Let's Plays now, but I just literally recorded 5 games back to back and there were no control or lag or delay issues. And so it's definitely not my recording setup. It's gotta be the game, and it's wow. I mean, it's really tough to get the hang of because it's so laggy. And the frame rate's definitely choppy. It's choppier than Dirt Trax, but I don't think this is a Super FX 2 game. I think this is just the original Super FX chip, basically the same one that's running Star Fox and Vortex, and so... and like I said in my Dirt Trax video, I'm pretty sure that the Super FX 2 is almost the same thing, it just runs at a much higher clock speed. I mean, it could be like an 8 megahertz difference, which, from back in the day can make a huge difference. So, but we'll go ahead and go on to the next race. If this game is this laggy, I might not even play the second track or the second course, because this is just, oh man. I mean, just, yeah, the frame rate is slow. Again, it's what you expect from Super FX games, but still. I need to see if there's a way to, like, adjust the camera or something like that. Okay, so it looks like there is. I hit select to do that. Oh, it's so laggy, man. This is so laggy. I think this is probably why I didn't enjoy the game back in the day. I mean, it's like, I press left... and half a second later, my car actually starts turning left. It's really that bad. It's pretty awful. Looks like it's got first person, which maybe I'll stick in first person because it looks like the frame rate's a little bit better. And hey, it almost feels like it's more responsive now. It's still laggy. Oh, this is... yeah, it's very laggy, guys. Everything else about the game seems alright, though. I mean, the graphics are fine. Gotta love the Super FX, like, advertisements. But, it's so laggy. I mean, this is... I almost feel like I'm playing Checkered Flag on the Atari Jaguar. And that's really... yeah, that's really not a good comparison, or not a compliment. It's not as bad as Checkered Flag on the Jaguar, but I'm speaking purely from a controls perspective, because this game already looks better than Checkered Flag. But it's so sluggish. Like, I can't turn right because it's so sluggish. So it looks like you have a finite amount of damage you can take. Don't tell me I have to do the whole race over again. Someone knocked me off the track, and I have to do the whole course over again. That's like F-Zero. Jeez, man. That was kind of messed up, actually. And it looks like you have a finite amount of lives, just like you do in F-Zero. Which is probably a good thing. I mean, if the game was too easy... What does the blue one do? Nothing, apparently. I mean, if the game was too easy, then you just breeze through it your first time, no matter what happened. Kind of like Dirt Trax FX. Like in Dirt Trax, it would tell you top 16 players make it to the next course, but there were only 17 racers. So, like, you literally had to be dead last. But the AI was so bad, you would never ever be dead last, no matter how badly you did. You could probably run around in circles, go the wrong way for 5 minutes, and then try to race properly, and you'd still not get 17th place. So there was really no detriment to you losing in Dirt Trax, aside from not being able to go to the next circuit. I think you had to get first place in every single race, basically, in order to go into the next circuit in Dirt Trax. But aside from actually progressing through... Oh! I thought he was going to knock me off again. So it looks like they purposely want you to be, to play nasty in this game. Like, purposely run your opponents off the course. And, you know, that's all fine and well, but with how bad the frame rate is and how sluggish the controls are, I can't imagine trying to do that consistently. Like, I'd probably miss my opponent, fly off the course, and die myself while trying to play dirty. Man. But yeah, going back to the whole lives thing, I mean, that sort of gives you incentive to play better and practice. Or you might not, you know, actually get through the whole circuit and you have to do it over. And yeah, it's kind of a design choice I think a lot of people don't like anymore because it's old school. But it works for some of these old games. And, you know, it worked for F-Zero. But, you know, it makes you kind of have to play better. It makes you have to kind of learn the game. You know, that's the way I see it. Although it does get frustrating nowadays, being so used to, like, instant checkpoints and stuff like that, and little, little whatever you want to call it, little, blah, my brain is drawing a blank again, little detriment to losing nowadays. A lot of times, you know, you'll just die and it'll just shoot you back a few meters prior to where you died and you just have unlimited tries, but not in these old games, even these old racing games. Yeah, I was really hoping I would just really click with this, but this really is not resonating with me that well. I like, you know, the user interface and stuff. It's a Nintendo produced game, so you've got that Nintendo quality, but the frame rate is kind of bad. It's really bad actually. And I'm in a big truck. Wow, the controls, you think the controls are bad in the main game? Wow, try playing this. This sucker is not responsive at all. I mean, I understand this is a bonus stage and all, but holy crap. Oh, the lag is horrible. This is just awful. Oh, man. I really hope I'm not, like, ruining someone's childhood here. But this game is, and I understand this is probably intentionally difficult, just so you can, not just easily rack up a bunch of lives and whatnot, but that was tough, yeah. Alright, so 2 more courses, including this one. Let's see what we can do here. I have no idea what any of these power-ups are doing, by the way. Again, I don't have an instruction manual, so maybe some of them like speed you up or slow you down, or I know one of them, the reds, give you your shield back for sure. I'm not sure about the other ones though. And the lag is killing me. I hate it. Hate it, man. Laggy controls is, aside from a really bad frame rate, is like my ultimate nemesis in video games. I absolutely cannot stand laggy controls. They are just horrible. Horrible. One of the worst things you can do, and Nintendo knows better than this. Like, even back then, Nintendo knew better than this, but you know, Star Fox, I think, did really well for them, and they wanted to put out some more 3D chip games, which I don't blame them for, because Star Fox was huge. For people that had Super Nintendos back in the day, Yeah, it might not have been as big of a deal for people that had like 3DOs or Jaguars or eventually PlayStations and Saturns. But for those people that had just Super Nintendos or just Sega Genesis, the 3D chip games for both those consoles were a huge deal back then. And just the amount of copies of like Star Fox floating around and say Virtua Racing on the Genesis floating around is really a testament to that. And both of those were amazing games, mind you. They were excellent games and still hold up very well today from a gameplay perspective. This, on the other hand, not so much. Maybe we'll do the trial mode or the practice mode after this and see if it runs any better, because maybe if it's less laggy. If it plays better, maybe it'll be worth at least just playing that. And this game will have some redeeming value. I should mention that this is one of the cheapest Super FX chip games you can get. It's one of the most common, and it's yeah, it's one of the most common, one of the most easy to find, complete in box. And I think part of that is because the game's not that great. And again, like I said, I really don't intend this video to be like trashing on someone's childhood. But I did play this game a little bit back in the day. I wasn't very impressed with it then. And we're talking mid-90s when it was brand new. And revisiting it now, I was hoping it would have grown on me. But it definitely has not. It's like Dirt Trax, I thought it was really cool. I was actually pretty impressed with it. And I think it's a solid Super FX game you might want to check out. But of the two games, I figured Dirt Trax would have been the one I would not have liked. I figured, you know, it was Acclaim, you know, wasn't Nintendo backed, and I assume that would have been the worst of the two. But this actually, despite the Nintendo production values on it, this is the worst of the two. This is just so hard to play today in 2014 as I'm recording this video. I mean, this game is literally 20 years old now. Does that make you feel old? I feel old now. Oh, man. So, yeah, I don't really intend to be, you know, ruining someone's childhood out there. But if I did, I apologize. You can give me a thumbs down. I totally get it. But this is, if you did play this back in the day, and if you played it a lot, play it again now, and post a comment below and let me know if you still enjoy it, or, you know, just let me know whatever the memories you had of the game back in the day, or hey, tell me if I'm doing something wrong. You know, maybe one of the other cars actually has tighter controls, so maybe that's something to consider. Look at this, I'm just like smashing into the walls and whatnot. It's like I'm playing a bumper car game now, not a racing game. I think one thing that would have really helped speed the game up a lot is that they just used 2D sprites for the characters, which is what they did in Dirt Trax. And I think that's why Dirt Trax runs at a smoother frame rate. Not to mention it does also use the Super FX2, which runs faster than the Super FX1, so that obviously would help a lot too. But if this game used sprites, which Nintendo, I think, actually learned their lesson on, and they actually went that route for Super Mario Kart 64. Believe it or not, that game uses 2D sprites for your karts. They're not polygons. So, granted, they're pre-rendered, so they look, you know, pseudo-realistic, which is cool. And they could have gone that same route for this game. Made, one thing they could have done, which is, this was actually done in other games as well, and it actually worked out really well, is just make sort of pre-rendered versions of these polygonal cars. That way they still meshed into the background. They still have the same polygonal look, but they actually aren't polygons. I think it would have been wise for Nintendo to have done that, and it might have turned out a little bit better. Frame rate might have been smoother, the controls might have been less laggy. I'm actually really surprised Nintendo didn't do something like that, because normally they were all about, you know, smooth playing games and whatnot. So, let's see if we can skip through this. Apparently not, you can't. It's like other Nintendo games, go figure. I'm curious to know what kinds of reviews this game got back in the day. And it looks like there wasn't really much there. No end screen or anything like that. It was just like, hey, here are your times. Yeah, back to the title screen, sort of. So that was kind of odd. You know, normally Nintendo games have a little more to them than that. You get some good production values here. Like you notice when you go up the menu, they speed up or they flip up and down, which is pretty cool. Let's do free tracks and see if we can play without anybody on the track with me. See if the frame rate's better, see if the controls are better. We'll do expert. Data box. Interesting. I think there is a battery in this game, because you notice some of them don't have multiple high scores on them. And you've got some of the same initials. It's interesting. Alright, please don't let there be other opponents. Let this just be me. Looks like it is. And it is... Hey, look at that. It feels like it's a tiny bit more responsive. It's still laggy. But it does feel a little more responsive now than it did before. So that's good. You got some textures in this game, I just realized. Let's go to a different view. Oh yeah, this is easily the best the frame rate's been this entire playthrough. I mean, it only improved by a few frames, but, you know, those few frames make all the difference when your game's only running at, like, 5 frames a second. Man, I'm still sucking, though. I'm still doing horrible. Horrible. Yeah, you notice the frame rate starts to drop a little bit once those textures come on screen, so it would have been better if they just didn't have textures at all. I'm really surprised they went that route. I mean, the 3D polygons was a new thing for Nintendo back then, so I mean, they were just, I'm sure they were experimenting and just trying different things out, and they might not have really been thinking about frame rate much back then, because, I mean, when you think about it, the Super Nintendo really wasn't probably designed for 3D polygons in mind. Like, it's probably really something they only really thought about, you know, as the newer consoles began to start looming over the horizon. And obviously, the takeoff of 3D in arcades, I think, was a huge part of it too. You know, Virtua Racing in the arcades was one of the most popular arcade games of all time when it came out. After it came out, sorry. I mean, it was super popular in the arcades. And then obviously that was expanded on with stuff like Daytona USA and Sega Rally, but that wouldn't come till, you know, those are probably out actually around the same time as this game when I think about it. I think the arcade Daytona was probably 94, same with Sega Rally, and then they came out in 95 on the Saturn. Actually, they might have come out in 94 in Japan on Saturn. So, I think Saturn was released at the end of 94 in Japan. Or was it early 95 in Japan? I don't remember. Either way, a lot of those arcade games, I think, had an influence on what console developers and manufacturers were doing at the time as well. I think with the success of games like Virtua Racing in the arcades, you had more people trying to do the 3D, or think about doing a 3D thing on consoles before the consoles were even really capable of doing it well. Although I have to say, the Sega Genesis SVP chip was definitely a solid game. Much better frame rate than pretty much any of the Super FX games, and still a great game today to play. So anyway, guys, with that, I'm going to go ahead and pretty much just wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Post some comments below of what you think about this game, and just, you know, give me your thoughts on what you feel about it. I personally like some of the production values. Like, I like these level select screens. They're colorful, typical Nintendo stuff for the time period. But the game is just so laggy. It's tough for me to recommend this game, to be honest with you. But I'm curious if I've ruined your childhood, or if not. I'd like to know what you think anyway. That said, guys, I will catch you guys soon. And as usual, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, I had to throw that out there. And I'll see you guys soon. All right, take care. Bye.